Good afternoon. This is the JP Dinnell YouTube exclusive, or I guess it might be good morning, considering some of these come out early in the morning, and you might be watching it, hopefully watching it on your TV or what, Apple TV, right? Because that's
you can do your Apple TV.
The most impactful way for you to now. Hey, the fact that you're watching
YouTube's is so weird.
The fact that they're watching, we appreciate that.
We appreciate you.
However, as I just learned, there are levels to this game.
It's crazy, right?
And if somebody is watching this on their TV or Apple TV, there is a greater impact to our rating and other things, correct?
That is what we've just learned, which is bizarre. Watching it on the TV app, the TV watchers give YouTube a little bit of an extra, like, hey, look, we cared enough to not just watch this on our telephone, but on the TV, and so there's escalation. The bottom rung is phone, bizarre,
and then it goes to desktop, laptop, and then TV.
Televisions.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, it's really weird, and I don't know where tablets fall into all that, but like tablets have their own rating, and it's totally bizarre.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, there are rumors that it is also rated like based off of device. So like an Apple device versus a Samsung device might be prioritized within the kind of thing, and they can tell because of the back end on the app that you're watching it on. And like if somebody watches on an Apple device with the YouTube app, maybe checks a few more boxes than something else. It's so weird. The deeper we're diving into this is like how much that data is sort of, because so the best, I'm Lucas, by the way, the best the best guess that most people have is that because of the advertising dollars that are spent, the more data they can give the advertisers to get their product in front of a specific group of people that puts them more in front of their ideal clientele, then the greater that ROI is for the advertiser. And so YouTube, because YouTube is Google, takes all of that information into account in order to create for the people that are advertising for them the highest ROI that they can. And it's
crazy, man.
Bizarre, dude.
Awesome.
It's bizarre.
Well, either way, we appreciate you guys listening. I know on June 11th, which is coming up.
June the 1/1.
Yeah, it's coming up based off when this is being released. I'll be doing a full day Echelon Front leadership event workshop here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It's open for individual ticket sales. So you can come solo, you can bring a small group, you can be a large group. It don't matter. It's going to sell out. It is certified through TCOL. So if you're a first responder in Texas, shout out to Flower Mound PD for helping host that. And shout out to TCOL for just the incredible organization that you are to help our first responders get the training that they need and the certifications to keep them up to date. So if you want to sign up for that, you go to the show notes and any of the last few episodes on Spotify, iTunes, and also here in YouTube as well. So,
Sergeant Pulis at the Flower Mound Police Department who hooked it up for us. So big shout out to him and helping us out, being our reporting agency and partner on that.
That's awesome. And so Cody helped facilitate that with you, right?
Yep. Because Jocko is doing a thing for the Texas Coalition of Law Enforcement at their big annual thing in October.
Yeah.
Around the same time he's doing the mustered up here in DFW. So they're like back to back somehow.
Sweet. Awesome. What you got?
So I got a couple of questions. The first one is it's a scenario that was recently given to me by one of the guys that I mentor. He kind of threw it out to me, and he was like, "Hey, run this by JP and see what he says, because I think he might have a better answer than you did." And I was like, "Likely." So that's what we're gonna do. But we're gonna allow this guy to remain anonymous. So he's been in a gig for about 2 years, and is doing okay. Right, came from the South, is doing a gig in the Midwest where he's working with students, and he's finding it challenging to engage because of the culture of the organization, because of the change in culture that's there, and because he's following a guy that everybody loved. So this guy was there for a while. Everybody that was part of this organization loved the guy. The parents loved the guy. The students loved the guy. And being the guy that follows him, he hasn't had much success. He's recently got a new person that's been put in a supervisory role over him. They're trying to flesh out what their roles are as far as like who's really responsible for what. And he's finding that a lot of his relationships that have been challenging, and this is the part that is become more of the focal point here. A lot of his relationships that have been challenging, that those people have built really good relationships with his new supervisor around both of their frustrations with him and the new supervisor's, let's just say, propensity to either listen to those frustrations or commiserate with those frustrations, even though he hasn't been there for very long. So the basis of his relationships with the new supervisors, the basis of all of his new relationships is frustration with the current guy that he's been put in charge of.
So this new leader,
it's a complicated situation.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I just want to make sure. I'm going to read this back to make sure we have alignment. And I actually want
you're going to exercise the read back here.
Yeah.
This is a pretty important deal.
And I just made it up in my brain.
Cool. No credit due to anyone else.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'm sleepy. I know you're much more sleepy than I am.
It's
because just baby sleep. But,
yep.
You know, sometimes stress makes me really, really tired and I want to take a nap right away. There'll be times like if something stressful happens or we find something stressful out, and man, they'll be like, are you falling asleep right now or do you need to go take a nap? Like,
all the above.
That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like my body will just be like, hey, we're taking a nap right now.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to read this back.
Yeah, let's do it.
The guy's new to this team, new to the area.
So he's been in the area for 2 years.
For 2 years. Well,
Okay. So that's still pretty
2
new.
years.
Yeah,
you're on the cusp of new versus you should be established.
Right.
And so he's been with this team for 2 years.
Yep.
Okay. And he was following an old leader that was a good leader that everybody really liked and enjoyed.
Everybody loves. Yep.
When did this new supervisor come in?
About 4 months ago.
Okay. So for the last 20 months, he hasn't done a good job building relationships with the rest of the team because they're frustrated with him. New supervisor comes in and they are complaining to the new supervisor about him. And this new supervisor is siding with these people, and that's how they're building their relationship. Mm-hmm. Instead of this new supervisor being neutral, kind of figuring out what's going on and then building his or her relationship.
100%. That's it.
Could there be a possibility that the reason why the supervisor has a good relationship with these other people is because this person is actually not doing a good job at their job?
There's some potential for that.
Okay. I mean, they're always, that's why I asked.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that is something, because there are certainly, like, they've admitted to, like, hey, there have been some failings here in building some of these relationships, especially in the beginning.
Okay, so he has.
Right.
Or she has made these
He's made some mistakes.
He's made some mistakes.
And primarily those mistakes have been, like, cultural. So he's gone from being in, like, this, from the DFW area, where he's around a bunch of people who are pretty sarcastic, to a Midwest farming community where the people look at sarcasm as really disrespectful. So he had some significant missteps in the beginning there, but he's worked to try to rebuild some of those relationships. But if I can properly structure a sentence, primarily the frustrations that are being expressed now don't have to do with that. They have to do with, like, the old guy did it this way. I don't like the way that this guy does it.
Okay.
And that's what the supervisor is more playing into. So much so that whenever asked, whenever this guy asked his supervisor, hey, I'm working on doing this. I've signed a 5-year commitment. I would like to carry that out. Do you think these relationships are salvageable? The supervisor's like, man, I don't know.
Okay. Well, that's...
Yeah. So there's a lot.
So he's dealing with a weak leader.
Yes.
I can say it. I have zero clue who you're talking about.
Right.
If you look at it, and this is me being completely detached, that's a weak leader.
Yeah.
Because that leader's not willing to push back and say, hey, let's figure out what's going on with so-and-so. Hey, is so-and-so having some problems? Hey, so-and-so doesn't want to fail. Because if I came in the situation as that new supervisor and people are all complaining to me about one person, it's easy to get sucked into that and be like,
sure.
Screw that guy, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, boom. But that's not what a good leader should do.
No.
A good leader is going to come in to lead the people, meaning we don't show favoritism. And meaning if I do have somebody that people, let's say I have a group of people that are complaining to me about Lucas.
That'll for sure happen. Trust me.
Okay. So I have a group.
I read our YouTube comments.
So I have a group of people that are complaining about you.
Yeah.
As a new leader, what I need to focus on is getting to know you and getting to know your strengths and your weaknesses and listening to both parties. Like the complaints, I have to take them as being valid complaints.
Sure.
Or concerns. I
Right.
should say concerns maybe is a better word of the other people and say, okay, if these are valid concerns, why? If these concerns are valid, what's causing them from Lucas's part? Is it a lack of training? Is it a lack of awareness?
A lack of trust.
A lack of trust, like
Right.
all these things. And trust is a big thing.
Huge,
So
right?
let's just say you've had trust issues before in the past, and then now you're in this new organization, and that's going to bleed over. So there can be those problems, or me as a supervisor has trust issues, or the other people have trust issues. These are things that we have to like identify and overcome. Trust is a very important part of building a relationship.
For sure.
And the issue that this gentleman has is he has no relationship with his peers. What he needs to do is focus on building really good relationships with these people so that they know his intentions. His intentions need to be viewed as being pure and for the betterment of the team.
Yeah.
He also needs to be very intentional with building a really good working relationship with his boss. The best way to do that is to get some wins. And if I'm this guy and my boss, I go to my boss and I'm saying, hey, can I salvage this relationship? And they're like, I don't know, that's questionable. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have humility and ask my boss, okay, hey, what should I do to fix this? Based off of what you know, what do I need to be focused on? How can I fix these relationships? What do I need to change? And here's the deal. Somebody's listening to this like, well, you shouldn't change. You be who you are. Well, that's not good advice because
it's terrible advice.
Well, there are some people like, well,
right, but
that's
if we
the
don't,
way I am.
If
you
we
get
don't
what you
evolve,
get with me.
And like I understand that to an extent, right? That like the core of who you are is something that doesn't often shift very much unless there's like traumatic experience or big change or whatever, like in life.
Yeah.
But if you are somebody who is completely resistant to like self-improvement or honest assessments or those kinds of things, right? It's just like the people that are like, whenever I drink, I just become more of the person, that I naturally am. Well, what if you're a jerk? And people don't want to be around you anyway. Like now that's doubled.
That's
right?
usually
so now you're
what happens when people drink.
Exactly, right? So like now, like I don't understand why people don't want to be around me. Well, I can tell you.
Yeah,
and there are
weird.
ways to not be a jerk.
Yeah.
There are ways to not be lazy. That's been, how many times have we talked about that kind of stuff before?
Yeah. So that
excuse irritates them.
It drives me
bejesus out of
crazy.
me. Yeah.
I just, again, to reiterate this, I would go to my leadership and say, all right, based off the feedback that you're getting, what are the mistakes I'm making? And what are some ways that I can improve my performance?
Yeah.
And then be willing to adapt and change as long as it's not a violation of codes and ethics that you might have and personal like issues. Like, well, I would never do that. Okay, well, you got to think strategic.
Yep.
And I would take that feedback and I would start changing habits. And I would also go and facilitate the hard, awkward conversation with my peers and say, hey, obviously the last 20 months, I haven't done a good job building a relationship with you guys. This is a problem that it's created. Here's how it impacts our relationship and the team and us getting the job done. And I just want to say I'm sorry because that's 100% my fault. Hey, moving forward, here's some of the things that I would like to be able to do so that we can improve our relationship. What are some ideas that you guys have? And then just sit and listen. And also understand that when you're rebuilding trust, it takes time.
Yeah.
You have to show them through your actions, not through your words. Show them through your actions. So that's what I would do. And then I would reevaluate what's working, what's not working, and make small changes to your behaviors, your tendencies, create habits, and be very intentional about building relationships. This is on you. This is not on anybody else. This is 100% on you.
All right. Question number 2, because we said this was going to be a little bit more rapid fire.
Yeah.
This is from Jason80790. He says, you mentioned biblical examples of battling complacency, discipline, discipleship, etc. Would be awesome if you would follow up with a deeper dive into the spiritual practices that help us battle complacency each and every day. So, what are the spiritual disciplines that help you battle complacency?
Man, this could be a whole episode.
Yeah, but it's rapid fire, and I wanted to paint you into that corner for now. We can turn it into a whole episode later.
So first initial 2 verses that come to play in my brain would be, let me look them up and I'll read them properly. That's awesome. Jeremiah 29:11, 12, and 13. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. They are plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. In these days, when you pray, I will listen. If you look for me wholeheartedly, you will find me. I will be found by you, says the Lord. I will end your captivity and restore your fortunes. I will gather you out of the nations where I sent you and will bring you home again to your own land. So that was also just added 14 into that. So the way I break down that verse is, obviously everyone likes Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans for you I have for you, says the Lord. They are plans for good, not for disaster. You give you hope in the future. So for me, when I read that and think about that, it's like, hey, you have to have a positive attitude and mindset, knowing that God wants you to. He wants you to thrive. He wants you to be successful. He wants you to be happy. He wants good things for you to happen. All right. Yep. So God, who created the universe and created you in his image, wants you to win. So know that that's like from the beginning. And it says, in those days when you pray, I will listen. So when we're having problems, pray. Seek out the Lord. Ask him for help. Ask him for guidance. Ask him for peace. And when you're praying, you can also pray against the devil. You can pray against those demonic spirits. You can pray against those oppressions and the things that are holding you down in life, so that you can get free from bondage. You can get free from addiction. You know what I mean? You can break through those things through prayer. And then 13, if you look for me wholeheartedly, you will find me. That, to me, that's like, hey, you need to be seeking the Lord. You need to be intentional. You need to be intentional with your daily disciplines. You have to be intentional with going to war with complacency. You have to do these things every single day. And then I will be found by you, says the Lord. I will end your captivity and restore your fortunes. I will gather you out of the nations where I sent you and will bring you home again to your own land. I will be found by you, says the Lord. That is a promise. I will end your captivity and restore your fortunes. That is a promise. And so knowing that we have these promises, it's like, hey, that's telling me, hey, I need to be intentional with seeking out the Lord daily in prayer, which means that if I'm reading the Bible and praying, what am I doing? I'm also putting on the armor of God daily. And the armor of God daily is how I go to war with complacency. That's how I go to war with the devil trying to creep in and attack me and my family. That takes discipline. That's hard. I don't do that every day in the morning. I'm telling you right now, I don't do that every day in the morning because I get complacent. I get lazy. I have these problems. But when I recognize that these problems are creeping in, I can promise you, I put on praise and worship. I start praying. I lean into the Lord. I ask him to help me through some things. So these are the things that you need to be doing. And then the last one real quick, since we are going quick, I would just say Proverbs 3:5-6, which we shared on our very first episode. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek his will in all that you do, and he will show you which path to take. And so if I am trusting in the Lord and not depending on my own understanding, but just seeking his will, like literally truly seeking his will, he's going to show us the path. Again, that's a promise. Seek his will in all that you do, and he will show you which path to take. I have to be intentional. And in order for me to be intentionally leaning into the Lord, praying, seeking his will, means that I have to be disciplined. And just doing those things is going to create habits that can like flow over to a lot of other episodes of our life. But I would like to dive deeper into this and maybe do a full episode around it, because I think there's a lot of biblical truths about this.
100%.
Yeah.
What's your favorite color?
I always flow between blue and green, but I would probably lean towards green just because of being born on St. Patrick's Day.
All right, that makes sense.
And then the association with camouflage ever since I was a little kid.
Nice. Toilet paper roll, over or under?
However my wife wants it set up.
All right, that's a very smart answer.
Yeah, I don't care.
How is the Sorenex Good Bar? You've been trying to get one of those for a couple of years. I saw you've doubled up on them.
Got him.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So
it's awesome.
Yeah? What's your
He's
your
actually
favorite
in
part
town
about
right now doing a big event. I tried to have him come be on the podcast, do an interview. The event that they have down in Fort Worth is literally like the Olympics for them. So I was hitting him up. We were messaging. He's like, hey, man, shoot me a text. So we were texting. And then I immediately realized, bro, this is like their muster. And I'm the guy that's like, hey, you want to come break away and record a podcast? Blah, blah, blah. And Bert was being super polite to me.
Right.
And being, responding. And he's like, hey, I got this, we have this big dinner party. If you want to come, it'd be awesome to meet you in person finally. And just all this stuff. It was last night and I was traveling back. And so I didn't go. But awesome. He's like, hey, if you want to come by any day and check out like what we have going on. So I might head by there tomorrow sometime if I'm able to.
That'd be awesome.
But he was like, man, if we're going to do it, it'd probably have to be on site at the hotel. And I was like, hey, you know what? Next time you come in town, let's do it. Because he would do it, but I am not going to make that leadership withdrawal at the beginning of our actual relationship. Right. Now, we've texted each other back in the day. Pete Roberts connected us a long time ago.
Yep.
We've talked about them before. I've been following Sornex for a very long time.
They make incredible stuff.
Did you see Andy Arabito's new setup? Spec Operator's new setup?
Mm-hmm.
That might be one of the best Sornex setups I've ever seen.
It's so cool. I got Jim envy.
I've
got very much kinds of envy now of following all of your friends on social media.
Andy Arabito, Spec Operator, half-face blades. Mm-hmm. That is by far the best Sornex setup I've seen yet.
Yeah.
I mean, Jocko's is pretty legit.
Who's he?
Who?
Yep.
Yeah. Jocko. That's how Dean Lister calls him. Jocko.
Where's Dean Lister from?
America.
Is he?
Yes.
Right.
He just speaks 7 different languages.
Oh, that's why he's got so many.
He just flows literally between. And sometimes, like at immersion camp when he was teaching, a few times I'm like, hey, Dean, you blended Portuguese and English. And he's like, oh, and he'll start over. I'm like, hey, Dean, you just blended Russian and English. And he's like, okay, and he'll start over. I'm like,
please just talk.
So intelligent.
Let's talk American.
Yeah. Speaking the English.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the new Sornex bar, the good bar, it's awesome. I love it. I on one of my little like to-do dream board list things is to have a custom Sornex setup in the home gym because their stuff is incredible.
Yeah. It's pretty legit. If you're
outfitting
the University of Alabama's weight room, you probably know a little something about what you're doing.
His dad's been doing that for just ever. That's what he got into it from his dad. But I mean, everyone's like, "Oh, their stuff's so expensive." Well, it's 100% American made, and it's the best quality out there. So, what do you expect?
You can have one of 3 things. I've always been told in business, you can have 2 of 3 things. It can be good, it can be cheap, or it can be quick. You get 2 of those 3, right? It can be good and it can be cheap, but it ain't going to be quick, right? Or it can be quick and it can be cheap, but it ain't going to be good. Right? So you can have any combination of those 2, but
good and quick, but it ain't going to be cheap.
Yep.
So you said that one first already, right? So what's the other combo in there?
So you got good, cheap, quick. So you can have good and quick and not cheap, and then good and cheap but not quick, and then cheap and quick but not good.
Yeah,
I think there's your 3. Yeah,
I like that.
So, that was...
shout outs to Sornex.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Which arm is your bruiser arm?
A bruiser arm?
Yeah.
My trigger pulling?
Do you in life each have one bruiser arm, and that's what comes together for bruiser arms, or...
No. Ryan Kramer, I want to punch him.
All right, next question. Which instructor...
so stupid, bro.
Which instructor not named Formiga did you learn the most from at Origin Immersion Camp this past year?
Oh, that's a good one. Probably Birdman.
Okay.
Yeah.
I figured I would follow up that question with a good question.
Yeah, Birdman.
To make up for it.
I mean, Dideko and Alexei put out incredible information, but as a purple belt, I was in the purple belt room, and I had a lot of sessions with Birdman, and he's got that old school jiu-jitsu, Renzo Gracie, in the blue basement back in the day, jiu-jitsu. Like,
oh wow,
yeah, he texted me. He's trying to set up his schedule about doing some seminars, and I was like, man, I need to work with Formiga about what it would look like to get him to come out and do a seminar. I mean,
that would be incredible, man.
So Birdman. I love his jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. What was the one technique that was like your biggest takeaway from him during IC?
So when you're this they have you in guard, so you're breaking the guard, and then you're trapping the knee, sliding over, and then as you do this like windshield wiper shift, but as you do the shift, you're just shifting from one shin to the next shin, and then you lock the leg down.
Okay.
And it's shin to shin. And he was doing it nice, and I got nauseous how bad it hurt.
Oh man.
And it just shows you the level to jiu-jitsu. And bro, if you were to look at him and I standing next to each other, you'd be like, oh, JP would whoop his butt.
Yeah.
If you were just to look based off of looks. Now, he's got that hardcore, like, Hell's Angel, like, biker look to him. So you might be like, but, if you're to look at based off of size and, like, if you're being judgmental, dude, that guy would just mop me.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
He's got that. It's weird how that happens,
and his jiu-jitsu strength is unreal. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And so he was demoing on me, and I was like, oh my God. All I can remember is just knowing this is not something that you should tap to. Do not tap. And then he traps it, and I've done it multiple times where guys will be like, okay, what in the heck were you doing? And I'm like, oh, what do you mean? Like, I'll act dumb because I'm like, I'm not going to tell you because we're going to roll again, bro.
Yeah.
But then after a few times, I'll tell them, I'm like, hey, Birdman, this is, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, dude, that was sick. And so then you do that, and then you go and you grab the collar, you grab their collars, you grab them, and you're like rolling them.
Okay.
You pull it in and roll, pull it in and roll, pull it in and roll. So now you're compacting their body on each other, like, those old roly-polies. That's how they look. Their body just now goes, it brings it in. They're like, and you have it and you push it down, and then you can transfer and then trap the arm and go for an arm bar, or you can just go knee on neck and just make their life miserable.
Dude, that sounds unfun.
It was incredible. It sucked.
That's
with
cool.
him demoing on me.
For sure.
I was like the whole time, like, now he's going to know when he listens. I don't know if he listens to YouTube exclusives. And I think Jonathan and Ann do it, and they train with him.
Right.
But bro, it was.
It sounds terrible, right? What's so impressive to me in jiu-jitsu is how, Victoria, for instance, dude,
she's incredible.
Yeah, she's an incredible practitioner, but she also, does she weigh 100 pounds? Like, maybe right at it?
Maybe.
Right? But the way she can use leverage and pressure makes her feel like she's Isaac size. Like, she's easy.
Yeah. Her husband, Trey, does the same thing. It's like
350 pounds.
It's like Anthony.
Yeah, Anthony what?
What? From Eclipse Jiu-Jitsu?
Yeah, okay. Anthony from Eclipse Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
I'm going to mess up his last name. Why would you? You're a jerk. Why don't you say, what is it?
Krantz.
Well, Anthony watches these on YouTube. Okay. He actually puts them on his TV, which shout out to
What
that.
a guy.
His son, Nico, I was talking to him at church. He's like, I saw you in your purple office. And I'm like, purple office? Well, the lighting.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
This is my office.
Your
yeah,
purple
Nico,
office.
we love you, bro.
Thanks for watching.
Little freaking 2-3-year-old watching these, getting after it, listening, learning. Little warrior kid. But Anthony taught some sick stuff at immersion camp as well. That was, his pressure passing game. Dude. I've never. So there's a few people that have ever now I never will. And I don't care that I just put a hit on me.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a lie. I did tap the pressure one time. Josh Strasberger got me to tap the pressure.
Really?
Yeah. When he listens to this, he's going to be super mad. He's going to rage out because he tries to make excuses for me. But it's a factual thing. I tapped the pressure. But
I tap the pressure often as a white belt. Right? Just because there are too many things at stake for me.
Yeah.
If I dislocate a rib now,
you can't do that.
Like as a pastor,
no,
I can't. Or carrying the kids,
you can't
if something's there, I'm like I'm out.
Anthony
I've become
is
a huge meow meow.
Anthony's one of those guys where his pressure, it's excruciating.
Yeah,
where you're just like, don't tap. Hey, here's this arm. Don't you want to submit this arm right here so you can just stop doing what you're doing?
Please take this.
Oh, I've given up other subs just to get Anthony's pressure off of me.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, he's awesome.
All right, last question. When you write your book, what's it going to be about?
So this has been the JP Dinnell YouTube exclusive. Hey, as always, we appreciate you guys listening. Very thankful for all the support that we have. Make sure you guys are sharing, which, well, I mean, I guess you don't have to, but it's appreciated.
It is, yeah. Yeah, share it, like it, subscribe, ding the bell, do all that stuff.
Yeah. So again, we appreciate you, and the comments are awesome. The community that's being developed around this podcast it's humbling.
It's pretty cool.
It's really cool to see. So we appreciate you guys just going out there, getting after it, being good humans, finding ways to help other people and provide value. So as always, thank you, Lucas. Thank you for our listeners. This has been the JP Dinnell Podcast YouTube exclusive.